Hey guys, Dan here with Battlefield Curator. What happens if some life event forced you to sell your entire collection, but you can only keep 5? Which 5 would you keep? There's a lot of things that could happen that could force you to sell your collection, or you might have something happen, a death in the family. You might have a career change, unexpected career change. You could have some kind of accident. So, here are my top 5 milsurps that I would keep if I had to sell my collection. All right, so number 5 here that I would keep is the Krag Jorgensen. It's a very interesting rifle, Norwegian designed, has kind of like a internal magazine that is just unique to the military surplus world. You essentially would just load the bullets into the box magazine and it kind of rotates around. It's held by a spring and the bolt is just so smooth. I don't think there's another milsurp out there that has such a smooth bolt. Now, the ammo can be kind of hard to find, but to me, I think it would be worth it to keep this rifle just because it also ties in with Spanish-American history and the history pre M1903 Springfield rifle. The US military at the time of the Spanish-American War and the Philippine insurrection, they were using the Krag Jorgensen. The rifle really wasn't accepted in its initial integration, mainly because it was of Norwegian design. It was a Norwegian rifle that the US military adopted. A lot of politicians and military personnel gave it backlash because it was not a US-made rifle. They wanted something more American, but it was the rifle that got the US on par with most other nations, because prior to that they had a black powder rifle, which was the Springfield trapdoor rifle. And this Norwegian designed Krag Jorgensen in 3040 Krag allowed the US to now use smokeless powder and be on par with a lot of other nations around the world. Problem was that the rifle was an inferior design to the Mauser rifle. And so now military personnel and military officers saw that and they knew that they had to adapt yet again because the Krag Jorgensen wasn't going to cut it. But still short-lived in the US military service, still a great rifle to keep because of its aesthetics and its unique design and military history tied to the US. All right, number 4 here that I would keep. I'm going to get some backlash for this, I'm sure, but it is a rifle that not many people really like, but I just enjoy shooting it. I enjoy taking it to the range when I can find ammo for it. This one is the Carcano M38 in 7.35 caliber. Now, you have to have the clip for it, so I've got a few clips, and you have to have the ammo for it. Honestly, I think this is one of the rifles that are just unique in all aspects. It uses a Monlisher style magazine. It takes an M-block clip, holds 6 rounds, 7.35. It's kind of an intermediate cartridge, and it's a short rifle. It's not very lengthy. The Italians were trying to get on par with the rest of the world while still being cheap during World War II. The problem was they had problems with logistics, and they just had problems with any sort of like innovation when it came to rifle design. They just wanted to keep something that they had integrated during World War I, that same Carcano action. And I know people that do go deer hunting with Carcanos. And I've taken it out there a few times and just haven't seen any deer with it. I guess the deer get scared when I come out with a Carcano. They must know about the JFK assassination. But for some reason, they just don't care about cars because, I don't know, they just love going towards cars. But anyways, Carcano M38. All right, so the third rifle I would keep is the Sharps Carbine 1859. The Sharps rifle and carbines, they were very influential in American history. They were very accurate. They're known for their accuracy. And during the American Civil War, the Sharps carbines and rifles were some of the most used single-shot breech-loaded actions. Yes, the American Civil War was one of America's bloodiest conflicts, and it was one of the most nation-altering conflicts that did occur. The Sharp's action was just so revolutionary for the time. No wonder why it was kept up until the 1880s and even used in the 1890s. And people, enthusiasts, get modern reproductions of the Sharps, and people will pay a lot of money for even just the reproductions. All right, number 2 that I would do here is the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand is definitely one of those American rifles that had a lot of influence around the world. It was the world's first semi-automatic rifle to be adopted as a military powers standard service rifle. Now, the M1 Garand saw heavy use during World War II, Korea, and even some use during the Vietnam War with US service members. A lot of other countries were lend-leased the M1 Garand, and a lot of other countries use the M1 Garand. And even the AK was based off of a portion of the M1 Garand. So the M1 Garand had a lot of influence in the gun industry. They are highly collectible, highly sought after. The CMP, Civilian Marksmanship Program, has them right now, but they're getting them from VFW posts and from other countries around the world that were lend-leased these M1 Garands. And when those countries give them back to the US, the CMP might be one of the first ones to come in and grab those surplus rifles from the US government. So they get these rifles from the US government when the countries return them. Now, most nations these days are more up to date on their weapons systems, so they're getting rid of their M1 Garands. And so you would see that a lot of countries had already sold off their M1 Garands or gave them back to the US. And this is why we've seen some of the ones come from other countries, some other poorer nations that are not in the best conditions. So you'll see some from Ethiopia, they're in pretty poor condition. You'll see some from the Philippines, they're in pretty poor condition because a lot of these nations, a little bit poorer nations, they needed to hold on to these rifles a little bit longer. So you're starting to see them in worse condition, and eventually they'll dry up and they'll still be highly coveted in the collector communities. So I think that, I would just hold on to one just because it's one of those highly sought after rifles and has a lot of history tied to it. All right, and the number 1 rifle that I would hold on to if I was to sell my entire collection, the one rifle I probably wouldn't be able to part with, is the Mosin M2830, Finnish Mosin M2830. That's right, this rifle has a lot of history tied to it with Finland. It's a very accurate rifle. It was used in competitions by Finland and was used for a very long time. The M39 was pretty much the best version of the Mosin rifle, the Finnish Mosin. And the M2830 was there during the Winter War. It was there during the Continuation War, when Finland faced off with the Soviet Union. Now, the M2830 is most well known in history because it was used by the famous Finnish sniper Simo Hauja, aka the White Death. He had over 500 confirmed kills. That's just a 3-month span. And that's incredible for any sniper to achieve. He had a lot of different techniques that he would use when he would go out. And we're in the very cold winter during Finland. This is extremely cold. And so he would go out very early in the morning. He would dig in. He would make sure that he had his snow blind and everything set up to where he was almost undetectable. And because the rifle, the M2830, didn't have a scope mounted to it, he was able to keep a low profile and stay very much hidden and not have any scope glare when he was facing off against the enemy. Now, a lot of his kills were around 200 yards and maybe 200 meters. And, the furthest, I think, in one of the books, he said it was out to 400 meters. So I tested out the M2830 at 600 yards, and it's a very capable rifle. I was definitely able to put a good sized shot group in a silhouette at 600 yards. So the accuracy of this rifle is very surprising. That's because the Finnish arsenals definitely took the Mosin platform and modified it with a heavy barrel, some shims, some sights. They upgraded the trigger and made this rifle a lot better than what the Soviets had initially designed. So overall, I think that the M2830 is definitely one of those rifles to hold on to keep, to cherish, and you can find ammo for it. You can take it to the range. It's going to hold its value or even gain value. Definitely one of those rifles that has a lot of significance in the gun collector communities. All right, well, with that being said, what are your 5 rifles that you would keep if you had to sell everything? You can only keep 5. Yeah, I know, it was a hard list to come up with. Definitely wanted to stick the M1 carbine in there, but I couldn't find a spot for it. You know, I really like that Krag Jorgensen, and you know, the Carcano, I just enjoy shooting it all the time. It's definitely a fun shooting rifle. I like the report off of it too. So let me know in the comment section which 5 you're gonna keep if you, for some reason, had a career or life-altering event that you had to sell everything. With that being said, pulverize the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to learn history and curate history. Make it a great day.